morning and welcome to Rising. I am Brianna Joy Gray and I have the very special treat of being joined this Thursday by Amber Duke here at the desk. Welcome back, Amber.
Thanks. It's good to be back with you. It's been a while.
I love this duo. We miss Robbie, but we're going to have a little bit of fun today.
It's girls' day. We got the blazers on. We're ready to go.
I love it.
All right. So Elon Musk spoke at yesterday's New York Times Deal Book Summit, where he had this explosive message for advertisers pulling out of X.
Apology tour, if you will. That this had been said online. There was all of the criticism. There was advertisers leaving. We talked to Bob Iger today.
I hope they stop.
You hope?
Don't advertise.
You don't want them to advertise?
No.
What do you mean?
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go f*** yourself.
But
go f*** yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is. Hey, Bob, if you're in the audience.
well, let me ask you then.
That's how I feel.
Now, Musk's outburst led NBC News senior reporter Ben Collins to express concerns for his health. He wrote on X, quote, "Actually watching this all the way through, and it's kind of disturbing. Something is clearly going on with this guy." Others cheered on the tech entrepreneur. Glenn Greenwald wrote this: "This is exactly what people should tell corporate advertisers who try to control the content of speech from media outlets or social media platforms. Sadly, virtually all media corporations and their journalist employees are far too cowardly to do it. Instead, they comply." And ex-CEO Linda Yaccarina took to the platform to do damage control, tweeting, "Musk also offered an apology, an explanation, and an explicit point of view about our position. X is enabling an information independence that's uncomfortable for some people. We're a platform that allows people to make their own decisions." Whew. Okay, so what do you make of this? Do you think that it's kind of a good faith argument that Elon Musk is saying, I don't really care about the advertisers, I'm doing this for a bigger principle, when he is simultaneously suing or threatening to sue the ADL for allegedly misrepresenting the level of hate on the platform in a move that drove advertisers away? And his telling, he's suing them because they caused him to lose advertisers. Can he simultaneously care that he doesn't care if advertisers go away?
I think yes, because I mean, fundamentally what he's saying is that he doesn't want his speech to be controlled by advertisers. And so I think you can simultaneously say that there are bad faith actors in the media who are intentionally either manipulating what Elon has said or manipulating the algorithm to get certain results and then writing media stories about it, while also saying if media companies or if corporations fall for that and then change their advertising decisions based on these manipulated media stories, then I don't want their business. I'm not going to respond to media blackmail and corporate blackmail to change the way I operate on the platform. I don't think those things are mutually exclusive.
So he goes on to say that, there's more questioning, and he's asked, well, what do you think is going to happen? Are you willing to lose all the money on Twitter? Will you keep Twitter open even if it's at a loss? He doesn't answer that question really squarely, as I recall it, but then goes on to say, in response to a question about whether he would expect people to then boycott Disney or whatever other outlets no longer want to advertise on Twitter, he would say yes. So he seems to think that people are going to vote with their dollars, that companies that are unwilling to advertise on Twitter will get backlash elsewhere, the way that some people have boycotted Disney or something like Bud Light or the like. And the interviewer was a little bit incredulous about that, as am I. Now, if he wants to say, this is an app that I've bought for the purpose of being a free speech platform, I don't care about the profit, I don't care that I've already lost half of the $44 billion worth of value because of the advertisers fleeing, I think that he can do that. But he didn't exactly say that. He didn't answer the question square on, are you willing just to do this for the public good at great cost to yourself? And he basically said, if Twitter has to shut down, it'll be the public to blame. It'll be those companies that no longer advertise on my platform to blame, and no one should blame me. I'm not sure that that is in the interest of free speech if it ultimately means that Twitter, which I think is a worthwhile platform, ultimately shuts down.
Yeah, and I've always had questions about the way some of his operations have lent themselves to his supposed goal of promoting free speech and having this open platform. There's still a lot of shadow banning on Twitter, for example. There's still a lot of algorithmic suppression of certain accounts. But that being said, I think he believes that the corporations are going to come back. And I think he believes the advertisements are going to come back, and those lawsuits are probably in pursuit of that goal as well. But does it also maybe prove his point if these corporate advertisers are so willing to go along with whatever the popular media narrative is against X, against Musk, to ultimately shut down the platform? Maybe he really does believe that the public would be on his side in that debate. I'm not sure that that's totally true. But I think it is worth, mentioning as well that the Media Matters article that came out that sparked a lot of these advertisers to pull out from X was deeply bad faith, which most of the things they do are. They had, according to Twitter, supposedly intentionally followed only anti-Semitic and Nazi promoting accounts, and then just refreshed their page repeatedly thousands and thousands of times until they finally got a corporate advertisement next to it, and then took screenshots. And
yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
But I also think that the bigger criticism of Elon Musk that I would make on this front is that he has been inconsistent with his own principles.
Sure.
So recently, going and doing the apology tour, that was at the beginning of the question, right before we started playing the clip, to Israel, saying some kind of common sense things about being concerned that all the bombing is going to generate more terrorism. And then a week later, after a trip to Israel, saying, well, actually, we're going to ban on my free speech platform discussions of from the river to the sea, or the word decolonization if it's being used with respect to Israel. Is that really a free speech platform? Is it really a free speech platform if you've kowtowed to Modi and other world leaders in the past? And can you have it both ways? Is it really about advertisers here, or is it really about your own personal ideology that's being curtailed in ways that you personally don't like? So we have more from this. Later in the discussion, Musk was asked the million-dollar question, who is he voting for?
I think I would not vote for Biden.
You'd vote for Trump.
I'm not saying I'd vote for Trump, but I mean, this is definitely a difficult choice here.
Would you vote for Nikki Haley? Nikki Haley, by the way, wants all social media names to be exposed, as you know.
No, I think that's outrageous. Yeah, no, I'm not going to vote for some pro-censorship candidate.
Musk was also grilled on maintaining his free speech bona fides while running at Twitter/X in countries without First Amendment protections.
What do you think about the leverage that the Chinese have over you? And do they have leverage over you? And how do you feel about, some people would say, is it hypocritical for you to be doing business in China, or frankly in other countries as it relates to X and other things that don't follow this free speech path that you have espoused?
The best that the X platform can do is adhere to the laws of any given country. Do you think there's something more we could do than that?
Do you think there's something more he can do than that? I mean, this is the question, right? Is the standard really, I have a free speech platform and I'm going to extend it to the world? Or is it that I'm going to just follow the free speech rules in whatever country I'm in the United States of America, we happen to have a First Amendment. But this really isn't a broader principle that I'm willing to take a stand on when it comes to whether or not I kowtow to the requests of other governments around the world.
Well, I guess he has two options, right? He has the option to either not operate in those countries at all, or he has the option to abide by whatever their laws are. And I think he's probably erring on the side of, I would rather those people have access to the platform than otherwise. But I mean, there's not a perfect solution when it comes to...
But that's very different than what he's saying about us here in America, right? In America, he's saying, well, if advertisers don't advertise on Twitter, I'll shut down Twitter and no one will have Twitter. When it comes to shipping the thing overseas, it's, well, if Modi tells me to ban this content, or if Netanyahu tells me to ban this kind of language on the app, I'll go ahead and do it.
Yeah, I see your point. I mean, I definitely think he's more America-centric in terms of what he wants to do with Twitter. But that being said, I think one of the things that I've noticed more broadly about Elon Musk's general takeover of Twitter as a platform is that and this is like exactly to what you're saying in terms of the contradictions, right? Is that he has this broader idea of having this very pro-free speech platform. But in many ways, he seems to kind of be figuring it out as he goes along and still kind of grappling with some inconsistencies in his own way of how he views and operates the platform. And so it's kind of surreal to us because we're watching it play out in real time. Like, these questions weren't figured out before he purchased it. It almost seemed like an impulse decision to buy Twitter, and now he's still trying to navigate all of these various issues with how exactly to use it in a way that is conducive to free speech while also having terms of service and operating in foreign countries that don't have First Amendments and all of that jazz.
Yeah, the fundamental problem is that all of these social media companies are about ad sales. As a business, if you care about it as a business, so a business you paid $44 billion for, that's what it's about. And so much of the decisions that Twitter has made and is making, before Elon and now, when it was being characterized as an arm of kind of the liberal establishment and otherwise, are largely rooted in these kind of financial decisions. And those can have alignments with politics for sure. Who are the people with money and what do they believe in and things like that. But does seem somewhat naive to dive headfirst into this and to not have thought that through. And I think this is something that Glenn Greenwald has been exposing recently, that a lot of the folks who have been talking about free speech for years now and who have made the argument that the only real bastion of free speech protections are on the right, in the wake of what's going on in Israel and Gaza, have flipped on a dime and are suddenly saying, oh, we got to arrest all the college kids. Oh, we got to make a terrorism charge if you are a member of a pro-Palestinian group. We're going to refer to everybody at a protest in the street as pro-Hamas. Suddenly, it's clear that many of those people were not actually pro-free speech. They were pro the speech that they personally liked. And I think the concern with Elon Musk is that when you look at the pattern of his behavior, that seems to be what's coming out on the app. Even though many of us who were enthusiastic or hopeful about what would happen when he bought the app had hoped, maybe against likelihood, but had hoped they would actually be as principled about this as someone like Glenn Greenwald has been.
Yeah, and I think people had unrealistic expectations of Elon Musk. I mean, he's not like a political ideologist, right? Like, he's not really an idealist kind of person. And I've always had issues with Elon Musk for some of his other related concepts, like putting microchips in people's brains. So I was like,
talk about this in there too.
So I was immediately skeptical when he purchased Twitter of this idea that he was like this conservative firebrand that some people have kind of assigned to him. But I don't know. I'm just fascinated to see where it goes. I feel like the disruption, it's almost like the election of Trump in 2016 in terms of like, we want something that is different than what we've had for a long time. Is the alternative really better? We'll see. Yeah. But we're okay if it blows up the system in the process. And that's kind of, I think, the approach a lot of people have to social media because of how problematic it's been in terms of censoring information that's deemed inconvenient to the political establishment.
Sure. All right. Well, stick around. We certainly have a lot more rising for you coming up next.